The joints ever to operate there are open and operating today. And if you don't know where they are, we'll give you those names and addresses. If this report does not close them down, I will give you these names and addresses. Thousands of dollars a day are changing hands there. After the federal grand jury had adjourned last year, you called a county grand jury shortly after. Isn't it a fact that you used the same witnesses the federal grand jury had used to convict the 16 persons, and yet you did not return a single indictment? When did you last talk to the sheriff about making raids? When did you last ask your police commissioner to make a raid? And since you are now asking to become the state's chief law enforcement officer, we gladly accept your invitation to look at your record as a public prosecutor.
I welcome the charges, and I welcome this opportunity to answer them. I reiterate that I have absolutely nothing to hide about the record that I've made as county attorney. For years in Tulsa, the whiskey cases have been handled by the police department of Tulsa. The prosecutions have been held in the municipal court and handled exclusively by the municipal prosecutor and not the county attorney's office. I noted that all of your citations of records referred exclusively to what happened inside the city limits of Tulsa and not what happened out in the county. Any newspaper man, any public official in Tulsa can inform you or anyone else that the practice, because of size of personnel and no other reason, and because of cooperation between different agencies of law enforcement, has been for years that the police department handles the city of Tulsa, the sheriff's office handles the county. State law, as interpreted by the Criminal Court of Appeals, holds simply this, that if there were 500 co-conspirators or accomplices, and every single solitary one of them went onto the witness stand, named dates, times, places, and names of officers that they have paid off, that is insufficient under state law, as interpreted by the Criminal Court of Appeals of our state. A constitutional highway commission similar to the one in Texas, so that we can construct roads where they are most needed by the public. Now, the areas that they would be put in, the money would be expended in, would be those areas where they are most needed by the public as determined by a highway commission and not a governor who has made commitments and promises all over the state.
I am of the opinion that the present commission can and will work as well the next 4 years as it did under Roy Turner, the man who brought it into being in the first place. I have come to the conclusion that a constitutional commission would not be best for Oklahoma, because if we should make the mistake of having members there who are not the right kind of men, we would again be in trouble. But in the present setup, the governor has controls that I think that are desirable.
part of this program are you most anxious to carry out?
Well, I'll tell you, every point of his program I think is a very good program. I'd be willing and I'm going to do everything I can in my part to help him carry out all the points of his program, because I think his entire program is very constructive and good for the people of the state of Oklahoma.
What looks as if it'll be our approach to the repeal problem next?
Well, of course, that's up to the governor to see how he'd like to handle it. There are two different methods, of course, that we can approach that on, and I think it'd be up to the governor as to how he wants to do it.
In your talks with other members of the House today, how do you find them leaning on repeal?
Well, I think they, too, would like for the governor to set the pattern and would follow him in whatever he deems is the proper thing to do to settle this question of repeal.
What were the points that made Mr. Livingston the best man for the job, Governor?
Well, there were a number of qualifications I think that Clint has. Certainly honesty and integrity is a very high point on the list. His ability and qualifications and experience and his real belief and interest in this program that is such a major part of our campaign for governor.
Isn't he a little old for the job?
He looks it. Looks are deceiving, that's all.
The only one out of the 30s in your administration, I believe.
Well, we're adding youth to the old look.
Okay, thank you.
It is my considered judgment that there are only two things which would meet the problem as you have outlined. One would be curtailment of the services in the county government or increased assessed valuations.